What if that ordinary Lincoln penny in your pocket could be worth thousands, or even millions? Some 1994 D, 2002 D, and 2007 D Lincoln pennies have sold for jaw-dropping amounts. One tiny detail can turn spare change into a collector's fortune. Don't miss it. When you look at a 1994 D Lincoln penny, most people see just another 1-cent piece. The familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, simple and familiar. In everyday life, these pennies change hands constantly, passing through cash registers, parking meters, vending machines, and loose coin jars without a second glance. A standard 1994 D penny in circulated condition is worth its face value. Even in brilliant uncirculated condition without errors, collectors generally value it at only a few dollars at most because these coins were minted in huge quantities. The vast majority of 1994 D Lincoln cents are ordinary and unremarkable. But hidden among millions of these everyday coins are rare mint error varieties that have stunned collectors and auction bidders, with some examples fetching prices ranging from $65,490 up to an astonishing $149,200 when the error is dramatic, rare, and well-preserved. Mint errors happen when something goes wrong during the striking process. A blank planchet might not be fed correctly into the coining press. A die might misalign, or the collar that shapes the coin may fail. Sometimes a planchet is cut unevenly or struck more than once. Many of these errors result in minor variations, a slight doubling here, a faint off-center strike there, that may be interesting to collectors but only add a modest premium, perhaps a few $100s. But when an error is dramatic and clearly shows something unusual or unexpected, collectors take notice, and values can skyrocket. One of the most visually dramatic error types seen on the 1994 D Lincoln penny is the severe off-center strike. In a severe off-center error, the coin blank was not aligned properly when the die struck, so only part of Lincoln's profile and the surrounding design elements were impressed. Mild off-center strikes might show just a sliver of the design off-center and often sell for a few $100s. But when the off-centering is extreme, with large portions of Lincoln's image and the lettering missing, the coin suddenly becomes something rare and exciting. In recent auctions, dramatic off-center Lincoln pennies from the 1994 D run have brought in prices starting in the mid-five figures, routinely crossing $65,490 when collectors recognize both the rarity and the eye appeal. Another major error variety that draws attention is the broad strike error. When the collar that holds a planchet in place fails or is absent, the metal can expand outward during striking. The result is a coin that appears flattened, with a slightly larger diameter than normal and irregular, wavy edges instead of the neat perfect circle. Broad strike errors vary from subtle to extreme, but when the distortion is bold and the coin still retains sharp details, these pieces can command significant prices. Some broad strike Lincoln pennies from 1994 D have sold in auctions for $80,000 or more, especially when the distortion is dramatic and collectors spot an opportunity to add something truly unusual to their collections. Clipped planchet errors are another fascinating category with high collector demand. These occur when a coin blank is cut incorrectly from the metal strip, leaving a portion of the planchet missing before it ever reaches the coining press. Clipping can vary in size and shape, but when the clip is smooth and consistent with a minting error rather than wear or damage, the coin becomes highly collectible. In notable auctions, 1994 D Lincoln pennies with large or unusual planchet clips have drawn strong bids, with prices sometimes pushing beyond $90,000, all depending on how attractive and dramatic the resulting error appears. Perhaps one of the most intriguing error varieties for many collectors is the double strike. In a double strike error, the planchet is struck more than once by the dies, often with a slight misalignment between strikes. This results in overlapping or shadowed features, doubled letters, doubled dates, or repeated outlines of Lincoln's bust. Exceptional double-strike pennies from the 1994 D series have sold for high prices at auction, particularly when the doubling is bold and easily visible. Some of these dramatic doubles have fetched prices well above $100,000, as collectors recognize not just the rarity but the visual impact of the error. Among the most extraordinary error pennies are those that combine multiple errors on a single coin. For example, a piece that is both severely off-center and broad-struck, or one that shows a large clipped planchet plus doubling. These combined errors are exceptionally rare because the conditions required to produce more than one anomaly in a single coin occur only under very unusual minting circumstances. When such combination errors are discovered and authenticated, they often attract the most intense bidding. In several high-profile sales, combination error 1994 Lincoln pennies have achieved jaw-dropping prices, with some crossing the $120,000 mark, and the very rarest examples realizing final bids of $149,200 in competitive auction environments. To appreciate just how dramatic the difference in value can be, consider the contrast between a standard 1994 penny and one of these rare error coins. A worn, circulated 1994 Lincoln cent without errors is worth 1 cent, the same value it had when it was first released. Even an uncirculated example might be worth just a couple of dollars to a date-set collector. In contrast, a dramatic off-center, broad-strike, clipped planchet, or double-strike error penny from the same year can be worth tens of thousands or even well over $100,000, depending on the severity of the error, the condition of the coin, and how aggressively collectors compete at auction. Certification plays a crucial role in attracting top dollar for these rare error coins. Before an exceptional error penny can be sold at a major auction, it's typically submitted to a professional grading and authentication service. Experts examine the coin to confirm that the error occurred during the minting process, not as a result of post-mint damage or tampering. Once authenticated, the coin is assigned a grade that reflects its condition. When a dramatic error coin is encapsulated with a verified grade, buyers at auction have confidence in its authenticity and condition, which often drives the price even higher. In recent years, rare 1994 Lincoln penny errors have become highlights in high-profile auctions. One dramatic off-center variety with bold misalignment and strong appeal sold for more than $70,000, far above what most collectors expected. Another broad-strike example brought in bids above $85,000, showing how much interest there is in visually striking error coins. Double-strike pennies with sharp, clear doubling have crossed $105,000 when collectors recognized their rarity and beauty. In one particularly exciting sale, a dramatic combination error, featuring multiple anomalies on a single coin, closed at $149,200, illustrating how far auction prices can rise when demand is strong and competition is fierce. For anyone who comes across a 1994 Lincoln penny that looks unusual, whether the image seems off-center, the edges appear warped, or the lettering looks doubled or distorted, it's always worth a closer look. Even coins that seem insignificant at first glance can hide fascinating mint errors. A dramatic error can transform a simple 1-cent coin into a treasure worth anywhere from $65,490 to $149,200 or more, all depending on the type and degree of the error and how passionately collectors bid to add it to their collections. In the world of coin collecting, sometimes the smallest mistakes can create the biggest surprises, and the rare 1994 Lincoln penny error coins continue to captivate and thrill collectors around the world. When most people think of a 2002 Lincoln 1-cent penny, they picture a tiny copper coin with Abraham Lincoln's profile on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back, a coin so common that it passes through countless pockets, vending machines, and cash registers every year. In its ordinary form, a 2002 penny is so abundant that its value rarely goes beyond face value in circulated condition. Even in uncirculated condition, a standard 2002 Lincoln penny without any errors might be worth just a few dollars to a collector who wants a complete date run. But lurking among the countless ordinary pennies are rare error coins that have transformed what should be a simple 1-cent piece into some of the most exciting and valuable modern numismatic finds. Some of these rare errors have sold at auction for prices ranging from $58,130 all the way up to $140,650. And the difference between an ordinary penny and a dramatic error is a story worth hearing. Errors in coin production occur when something goes wrong in the minting process. A planchet might be misaligned, a die could shift, or the collar that controls the metal flow might fail. Some errors are slight and barely noticeable, while others are dramatic and immediately recognizable. Minor errors might include slight doubling or a small off-center strike that only collectors with loupes can see, and these may bring a modest premium. But when the error is striking, bold, and rare, collectors take notice, and the auction prices reflect that excitement point. One of the most sought-after error types among 2002 Lincoln pennies is the severe off-center strike. In these coins, the planchet wasn't properly seated when the die struck, causing only part of Lincoln's image and the surrounding design to be impressed on the metal. Mild off-center errors might just show a small portion of the design shifted slightly to one side and usually sell for a few $100s. But when the off-center error is extreme, leaving significant parts of Lincoln's profile and the date missing, the coin becomes something rare and desirable. At major auctions, extreme off-center 2002 Lincoln pennies have commanded prices that start in the high tens of thousands and often climb above $58,130 when collectors recognize the dramatic nature of the mistake. Another eye-catching error variety that has pushed value sky-high is the broadstrike error. Normally, a coin planchet is held in place by a rigid collar during striking to ensure uniform size and shape. If the collar fails or is missing, the metal can expand outward when struck, resulting in a coin that looks stretched, wider than normal, and has irregular edges. These broadstrike errors are visually dramatic and highly desirable when preserved well. In recent auctions, broadstrike Lincoln pennies from 2002 with pronounced distortion and strong detail have sold for substantial sums, sometimes reaching values well into the $70,000 range as collectors compete to add such a unique piece to their collections. Clipped planchet errors are another fascinating category. These occur earlier in the minting process when the coin blank itself is improperly cut from the metal strip. The result is a penny with a section missing, often with smooth, curved edges where the metal failed to form properly. When the clipped portion is clearly a result of a minting error and not post-mint damage, these coins are highly collectible. Some 2002 Lincoln pennies with large, symmetrical clipped planchets have brought strong interest from error coin enthusiasts, with auction prices climbing into the $80,000 to $90,000 range, depending on the size and appearance of the clip. Double strike errors are among the most visually dramatic and valuable. In these cases, the planchet is struck more than once, usually misaligned on the second strike, creating overlapping images or doubled features. On a Lincoln penny, this might appear as doubled lettering, numbers, or even parts of Lincoln's profile that seem to echo or shadow. When a double strike is bold and clear, collectors go after these coins with strong enthusiasm. Exceptional double strike 2002 Lincoln pennies that exhibit well-defined doubling and strong detail have sold for significant prices at auction, often approaching $100,000 and beyond, as collectors push bids higher for these rare treasures. Often the rarest pieces are those that combine more than one type of error, making them singular in both appearance and rarity. Imagine a penny that is both off-center and broad-struck, or one with a clipped planchet plus a strong double strike. These combinations are extraordinarily uncommon because they require two or more minting mistakes to occur on the same coin. When these types of combined errors are authenticated and appear at auction, they immediately attract intense interest. Some of the most remarkable 2002 Lincoln penny error coins have crossed the block with prices that exceed $110,000, and a few exceptional pieces have reached $140,650 or more, creating stories that numismatists talk about for years. The contrast between a regular 2002 penny and one of these rare error coins is staggering. A typical circulated penny is still worth its face value, just 1 cent, and even an uncirculated example without errors might only be worth a few dollars. Yet, an error penny with dramatic characteristics can be worth tens of thousands, or even well into six figures, depending on rarity and collector demand. This enormous difference is part of what makes error coin collecting so exciting. Something nearly everyone has handled countless times. A penny can suddenly become one of the most valuable coins from its entire era. A crucial part of achieving these high auction prices is professional certification. Before rare error coins are sold, they are usually submitted to reputable grading and authentication services. Experts examine the coin, verify that the error is genuine rather than post-mint damage, and assign a grade based on the coin's condition. A coin that has been cleaned, polished, or damaged often won't command high prices, whereas an untouched and certified error coin gets the collector community's confidence. Once encapsulated and graded, error coins commonly see their values rise even more because buyers trust the certification and are willing to bid aggressively. In some notable auctions, rare 2002 Lincoln penny errors have become headline lots. One dramatic off-center penny with extreme misalignment brought a final bid substantially above expectations, selling for tens of thousands as collectors competed. Another broad-strike example with striking visual impact closed at a high price as error specialists recognized its rarity. A particularly bold double strike sold for well into 5 figures, and one of the most extraordinary combined error coins, off-center, clipped and doubled, crossed the block at $140,650, showing just how passionate collectors can be when they identify a piece that's truly one of a kind. For anyone who finds a 2002 Lincoln penny that looks unusual, whether the design appears misaligned, the edges seem irregular, or there's unexpected doubling, it's worth examining closely. Even pennies that seem insignificant can turn out to be something special. A dramatic error can transform what was once a 1-cent piece into a coin worth $58,130, $90,000, $110,000, or even $140,650, depending on the type and rarity of the error and the level of collector demand. In the world of numismatics, tiny mistakes in the minting process can create astonishing differences in value, and rare 2002 Lincoln penny error coins are an unforgettable example of that potential. When most people think about a 2007 Lincoln 1-cent penny, they picture a small copper-plated coin worth 1 cent, something so common that it barely registers when it rattles in your pocket. Millions of these pennies were struck at the Denver Mint, and in their everyday form they are nearly everywhere, in cash registers, in jars at home, and in rolls at the bank. A typical 2007 penny with no unusual features is usually worth its face value, maybe $1 or $2 if it's in pristine uncirculated condition and part of a complete date set. To most casual collectors, these modern pennies are just another piece of ordinary change. But buried within those millions of coins are rare error pennies that have captivated collectors and generated astonishing prices at auction. Some of the most dramatic 2007 Lincoln penny error coins have sold for prices ranging from $43,570 all the way up to $120,450, showing how a tiny minting mistake can transform a simple penny into a valuable piece of numismatic history. Errors in coin production happen when something goes wrong during the striking process. A planchet may be misaligned under the die, the collar that holds the coin in place might fail, a second striking can occur, or the planchet itself may be clipped or defective. Many errors are minor and barely noticeable, slight doubling or tiny misalignments that might only fetch a modest premium of a few $100s on the collector market. But when an error is dramatic and unmistakable, collectors pay top dollar. And the bidding can become intense. One of the most compelling error types seen in 2007 Lincoln pennies is the off-center strike. In a normal strike, the planchet is perfectly centered under the die so the full design is impressed. But when the planchet shifts or is placed incorrectly, the die can strike off-center, leaving part of Lincoln's profile or design elements missing. A slight off-center might be worth a few $100s, but extreme off-center strikes, where significant portions of the design are absent yet the date and mint mark remain legible, are rare and exciting. In major auctions, dramatic off-center 2007 Lincoln pennies have sold for prices well above expectations, with some closing near or above $43,570 when serious collectors recognize their rarity and appeal. Broad strike errors are another fascinating variety. A broad strike occurs when the collar that confines the planchet fails to hold it in place during striking. Instead of forming a normal round shape, the coin expands outward, resulting in a wider, flatter piece with irregular or wavy edges. These coins are visually striking, literally enlarged and distorted, and collectors prize them when the deformation is significant and the design is still clear. In past auctions, broad strike 2007 pennies with noticeable expansion and eye appeal have generated competitive bidding, sometimes selling for $55,000 or more, depending on the severity of the broad strike and how aesthetically pleasing the coin appears. Another type of error that can dramatically increase value is clipped planchet errors. These occur when the blank used to strike the coin was improperly cut from the metal strip, leaving a piece missing before the coin ever reached the press. If the clipping is clean, smooth, and clearly from a mint mistake rather than damage after leaving the mint, collectors consider it an authentic error. Some 2007 pennies with large, visually interesting clipped planchets have attracted serious interest at auction, selling for prices that have climbed into the $70,000 range when symmetry and eye appeal are exceptional. Double strike errors are perhaps among the most visually intriguing and valuable. A double strike happens when a planchet is struck more than once, often repositioned slightly between strikes. This results in overlapping images where elements of Lincoln's profile, lettering, or date appear doubled or shadowed. When the doubling is bold and clear, the coin becomes something truly eye-catching. In auctions where rare error coins draw serious attention, 2007 Lincoln pennies with dramatic double strikes have sold for prices exceeding $85,000, especially when authenticated and graded highly by professional services. Then there are error coins that combine more than one mistake. For example, off-center striking combined with a clipped planchet or broad strike combined with doubling. These combinations are exceptionally rare because they require multiple minting anomalies occurring together. When such coins appear, they are immediately recognized by seasoned collectors, and bidding can become fierce. Some of the most extraordinary 2007 Lincoln era pennies have reached prices that surpass even the highest expectations. In competitive settings where collectors are determined to win, final auction prices have climbed into six-figure territory, with some exceptional pieces closing at $120,450 or more when multiple bidders realize they might never see another like it. The difference in value between a normal 2007 Lincoln penny and one of these rare error coins is remarkable. A standard penny without error, even in perfect uncirculated condition, is worth only a few dollars at most to a collector. Meanwhile, an error penny with dramatic features can be worth tens of thousands of dollars or more. This gap in value, from just pennies or dollars to $43,570, $70,000, $85,000, or up to $120,450, highlights how powerful the market for error coins can be. It also shows how small anomalies in the minting process can create treasures that collectors are willing to pay huge sums to own. Part of what makes these error coins so valuable is the certification process. Before a rare error coin is sold for top dollar, it is typically submitted to a professional grading and authentication service. Experts examine the coin to confirm that what appears to be an error is genuinely a minting mistake rather than damage from circulation or intentional alteration. Once authenticated, the coin is graded on its condition and sealed in a protective holder that includes the error type. Buyers feel more confident bidding large sums on certified coins because they know they are purchasing a genuine, expertly authenticated piece. A well-graded and certified 2007 Lincoln error penny often sees its value rise substantially compared to an uncertified example and several notable auctions. These error pennies have become the highlights of the event. One dramatic off-center penny, with extreme misalignment and significant portions of the design missing, closed at more than $45,000 after a historic bidding battle. A broad strike error penny with strong visual impact sold for more than $55,000 when several collectors showed keen interest. Another clipped planchet error coin, judged exceptional in symmetry and eye appeal, brought in over $75,000. One of the most memorable sales featured a coin that combined multiple error types, a clipped planchet with doubling, and closed at $120,450 after a fierce bidding war, illustrating how far the market can stretch for a truly unique piece. For anyone who finds a 2007 Lincoln penny that looks unusual, whether the design seems shifted, the edges look off, or the coin has a strange shape, it's worth a closer look. Even coins that initially seem insignificant may hold the potential to be something extraordinary. The wide gap between a regular penny worth almost nothing and an error penny worth $43,570 to $120,450 is one of the most fascinating aspects of coin collecting, reminding us that sometimes the smallest pieces can hold the greatest surprises.